Hey, how you doing? Welcome to the page. This is what I got going on. This is updates on the garage, different projects that I have. I'm going to start over here. Where we're going to go here. So we have the 2004 Toyota Tacoma. It's got a 2.5-inch lift leveling kit, 33-inch tires. It's got Tundra brakes on it from the second gen. You can see them right there through the wheel, along with cross-drilled slotted rotors. I did this paint job probably, I don't know, like 5 years ago. The sun destroyed the clear coat. It's like a flat clear or matte clear, but yeah, it didn't last long at all. That's a 3.4 liter supercharged TRD, supercharged from the factory, or the dealer installed. I can't remember which it was, but it's got a Canon air filter. Got a mod for the air intake right there. It pulls from behind the headlight when the plate is out. When the plate's in, it pulls from inside the fender. Not a lot of engine mods. It's got a 2.37 pulley on it. I have another pulley for it, but I'm not putting that in there yet. It needs bigger injectors if I do that. Custom grille, custom front bumper built by me. The side steps, I was going to build some, but these were cheaper off of Craigslist, and I just couldn't beat it because it would have cost me more materials. I got a light bar and stuff for it, and a bed protector. It's outside here. Right there, you can see it. I'm getting ready to paint the truck, and once I do that, it'll go back on. There's that custom rear bumper I also built. It's got custom headlights and taillights. It's got a Line-X bed liner. Had my company logo on the doors and stuff, but I'm going to sand all that off when I repaint it here shortly. It's got different seats in it. I'm not sure what these are out of, but the original seats were just slap wore out and torn through and stuff, so put these in there. Custom mounts. So I have to put the glove box and stuff back in. And got a short throw shifter in it. Pioneer DVD player. It's got a AEM air fuel ratio gauge and a TRD boost gauge. It's got 127,000 miles on it. Custom headliner. It's all vinyl. It's got a CB in it, Cobra CB, for talking to people off-road. I still have some more trim parts to put back on it. Go back around the other side. There's custom headlights. 33 Super Swamper IROX. So we got here. Alright. You can see the white face gauges, gauge pod. It's got a kick-ass stereo in it too. So it's Pioneer. Let's see here. There we go. You can see the sub. It's got a 10-inch JBL sub, W3. I think it is, or JL Audio. Got 2 Alpine amps, one for the sub, one for everything else. And it's got JL Audio speakers in the doors, component set. And then I think I put 6x9s in the back there. It may also have components, I'm not sure exactly. Just 4-wheel drive. It's a really fun truck off-road. After I finish painting it, it'll be up for sale. Good truck. Been a great truck, but I got my F350 now, so I really don't need this one. And it's the first project. That'll get done before everything else does in here. Get a good overview here, picture of it. And like I said, I'll put that light bar back on when it's done painting. There we go. See it in here better. Pretty cool truck overall. I've really enjoyed it over the years. And oh, I did the exhaust, and it comes out the side right there. That's it for the truck. The next project's gonna get done is this 91 Ford Mustang GT. I got it. It was pretty dogged out. The engine ran good. It just needed a lot of TLC. I put new headlights in it. The motor, really didn't do a lot to this. Just went through, changed all the fluids and stuff. New battery. I got caster camber plates on there. I think that was it for the. It's already had the 3 gen alternator upgrade. I did put a new power steering pump on it because it was leaking pretty bad. It's got JVA shorty headers. It's just got an MSD cab and rotor and a coil. Got a C&L cold air intake, or roadster cold air intake. C&L little elbow there. It's got a BBK 65mm throttle body. BBK lower plus 65mm throttle body. Put a new idle air control on it. And I also put in a Jegs brake bias adjuster. Let's see what else. I think that's it for the engine compartment. Oh, and I got contour fans on there because I had a factory fan which was just falling apart, so I swapped that out for the contours. So and then did a 5-lug conversion with 03 Cobra brakes and wheels. It's got cross-drilled slotted rotors. The rear in the front, and then the rear end, it actually came out of an 05 Mustang GT, and I converted it with the Cobra brakes in the back. It does stick out a little wide on each side. I think it's like 7/8 of an inch or something. It's not quite an inch on each side, but it's a little bit much. I had to roll the fenders really tight to get it to clear, so when it hits a bump it doesn't. It hasn't rubbed yet, and hopefully it won't. But yeah, you can see right there, sticks out a little bit. Not too bad though. Still fits the Fox body pretty good. Had the windows tinted. Let's see what else. I think that's it for the outside. The outside's got a lot of dents on it. You can see on the roof right here. We thought it was hail damage at first, but I think somebody just laid something on the roof of it because it's like in this row right here. So I'll have to pull those dents out. Car will get a respray next. I want to put the Hydro Boost brake system on it, tie it into the factory power steering pump from the Fox body. Let's see here. It's got a lot of dings in the doors and stuff too. You can really see it right here. A couple of them right there. So it'll need some body work for sure. This door handle's not very cooperative. I redid the complete interior. It's got dyed carpet in it. The door panels, I took them apart and I took the cardboard out of the back of them, or the fiberboard, whatever that is, and replaced it. And these cleaned up really nice. It's got aluminum fascias around the door handles. I had to swap out the gauge cluster. It was half the shit on there wasn't working. It's got an 89 steering wheel with tilt steering for the column. I didn't put that in, it was already in there. Got a generic DVD multimedia player in there. It's got Alpine speakers all the way around, the doors and components in the front and the rear. See, I put in a cup holder with a console piece. It's got the USB chargers and stuff. It's got a rear seat delete. Put that in there. It's actually aluminum, and I covered it in carpet to match the back of the car. I don't really need a rear seat, it's just me and the wife. Got the chairs back there for the car shows. I took it to Ford's on 4th last year. It was pretty cool. Was it? No, it was this year. This year it was. And yeah, changed out a few parts here and there just to make it look nice. New headliner. It's also black vinyl, just like I did the Tacoma. Still got to figure out the visors. I got to do those still. I'm just trying to get everything working in here like it's supposed to, which everything does now. For the interior, new seat belts all the way around too. That was a must have. And the seats are out of an 03 Cobra. And I think that's it for this one. Runs, like I said, it runs real good. It's got 373 gears in it. I haven't really done a lot with the suspension. Oh, SV lowering springs. So this is the lowest it's going to go. And I think that's it for this project. Get a good shot of it back here. Oh, it does have LX taillights on it too. I put those on there. Had some crappy eBay lights on front and back. Hopefully that's pretty good. Alrighty. Alright, next project is a 1992 Summer Special Mustang convertible. We got this, it was ragged out, everything on the car was leaking. Everything on the car needed to be redone with the exception of the paint. It's got some door dings in it, but this is the original paint from 1992. The rear bumper plastic piece was resprayed before because it had clear coat on it and nothing else on the car does. So I buffed the car out and it came out really, really nice. I did respray the engine compartment. I had to rebuild the motor anyway, so pulled that out, switched it over. It now has a LMR K member in it with A-arms. It's got the, I think they call them the same SVE coilovers. They are absolute garbage. Do not buy them. They're coilovers. It makes the ride height look nice, but it rides like absolute dog shit. It's very, very stiff. It doesn't absorb any bumps at all. Like I said, it just rides like crap. It's like it's got no suspension at all. I'd have been better off just putting freaking solid metal struts on there and just be done with it. What I'm going to do though is go back to the stock style suspension. I'm going to switch over to K member out of this, but I have a stock one out back and I just got to get some A-arms for it, or new bushings with A-arms, and I'll be able to swap this over. And originally I intended this just to be a weekend drag racer and cruiser car, mostly cruiser, but since I got the 91, I really don't need this one to be a drag race car, so it's just going to end up just being a cruiser. So motor will stay in it. It's been completely rebuilt. I did stock bottom end rebuild, like it's stock pistons and rods and crank, new bearings. It's got Edelbrock Performers. They're the E heads. I forget what the model number is, but they have 202 intake, 190 exhaust. It's got the MST cap and rotor, Extreme and Demon coil, bigger live wires on there. I had to put boots on there because the exhaust ports are really high on these, and the plug wires hit the freaking headers. But they're working good now. Aftermarket aluminum valve covers. Got the Explorer upper lower intake. The injectors are 24-pound injectors. It's got what size throttle body that is. I want to say it's a 70 millimeter with an LMR or SVE intake, and the filters inside the fender. It's got a bigger MAF to match the injectors. See the chrome on there. Aluminum radiator for Mishimoto, along with Mishimoto fans. Oh, by the way, Mishimoto fans are garbage. They do not pull enough air through there when you have a condenser run. The car does have air conditioning. It is not currently installed. The condenser's out because the car was overheating with the it's got a 180 thermostat in it, and it was still running hot, so I took the condenser out since I hadn't charged the AC yet anyway. It runs a lot better now with that, but I have some upgraded fans for it. Got the battery currently out of it because in Arizona everything goes bad over. Batteries go bad a lot, so it's over there getting charged. It's got a Cobra, 93 Cobra brake master cylinder and booster. It's got caster camber plates. It also has the Cobra brake upgrade all the way around. The rear out of this one though is out of a 98 Cobra, which means it's 3/4 of an inch wider on each side. It has the GT brakes in the back though, so it doesn't have the vented discs, it just has the regular discs in there, which means you can put 15-inch drag radials on the back, or 15-inch wheels on the back, and still clear the rotors. Like I said, this one will eventually, I'll probably swap the Cobra brakes from the rear of this one with the 91, depending on which one I'm going to race. It's got put a roll bar in it. It's got a 6-point. You can see the bar on that side. It makes it really difficult to get in and out of this car. On the driver's side, because the steering wheel does not tilt. They did not do that in 91 and 93 when they had the airbag. They did not have a tilt steering column available. You could swap them out. I just haven't gotten around to doing it on this car. I'm trying to keep it mostly original. It's got the original stereo and stuff. The 5-speed short throw shifter on it. Also upgraded the center console thing with cup holders. It's all the USB chargers. Interior looks pretty good. The door panels were good. I got new door armrests, re-tightened the mat pockets, and the upholstery in here, it looked like somebody had threw a bunch of raccoons in here and then closed the door and then didn't feed them for a month because they tore the living crap out of these seats. Something else I found when I tore these seats apart to rebuild them is the foam inside, embedded into the foam, was long ginger hair. It was crazy the amount of that hair and where it was in this car. I completely took everything out of the interior, the dash, redid the heater core, the carpet came out, the console came out, the seats came out, everything was out. I had to put a new top on it. Me and the wife did the top and the upholstery. It wasn't terrible, but it was very labor intensive, getting all those hog rings in there where they needed to be to make the seats fit right. And I had put new foam in it. I got a foam kit and the upholstery kit and did those up. It looks good. It's original carpet in here. Let's see, it's original seat belt still. I got a cover for the back when you put the top down. Still have some seals to put in for the convertible top, but other than that, it's pretty much done. The quarter windows, funny story on that. I replaced all the guts inside of them, and they went up and down a few times, and then they went down, and then now they won't go back up. They had new motors, new guide rods, the little bushings and everything, and it still doesn't work like it's supposed to. So pretty much just keep them down because they look retarded when you put the top down and the windows down, and those are still stuck up. Came with original glass rear window, but did not have the defog option, which is okay. Good factory tail lights. It's a pretty good car overall. I mean, it runs really, really good. It revs really fast, faster than any Mustang I've ever had before. It's got 17-inch chrome ponies on there for the wheels. Cooper tires on both the cars. They're nice wheels and tires, nice tires. Everything on this runs good. I did some insulation here. I just need to figure out a way to mount this part so it stays down there where it's supposed to. But overall, the car runs and looks great. Like I said, it does need a new paint job now though, because you can see right here it's starting to get chips and where it's spider webbed. All the paint's starting to peel up on it, so I will need to respray that car eventually. That'll be the last project I do in here. And that's the 92 Summer Special. Officially the wife's second car. She has an 03 Cobra too, but I'll have to do videos of that later. Alright, the fourth project on the list is a 1993 Mustang coupe. Originally a 4-cylinder automatic car. Now it's going to be a 460 big block with a turbo, a very, very large turbo. And the whole point of this project is just to be a drag car. I always wanted something stupid fast. It just has to go down a quarter mile. I don't ever want to drive it on the road. So it's just going to be built as a drag car and that's it. I have the 9-inch housing for it right there. I cut the whole front end off, put the tubular front end on there. I just bent all the tubes myself. It was cheaper than buying the kit. The kit's like anywhere from $450 to $700, and some of them are even more than that. And I figured I could do all this for a lot less than I did. It was $110, I think, for all the materials. And I had a tubing bender already, so it was just pretty easy to do. Just had to make sure everything lined up right and everything was straight and even. Just gutted pretty much everything off the car that I could take off the car. Eventually it'll get Lexan windows and stuff too. I cut out the rear tubs because I was gonna, I got a mini tub kit that I'm gonna put in there. And you can see all that stuff's gutted out there. Still have some sheet metal work to do on it. Came with the plastic Jegs racing seats in it. There's 2 of those with the brackets. Let's see here. So there's no interior panels. Still gonna cut some more metal out of these doors to lighten them up as much as I can, and then put the Lexan windows in them. There's the front end parts and the fenders and the front lower valance piece that are in there. Steering wheel's coming out. Got a different one for it. Pretty much that's all it's got is a steering wheel, and I'll put just a digital gauge cluster on there when I start doing the engine stuff. I took all the sound ending out of the car. There's no headliner. There's absolutely nothing. Anything. If you don't need it for drag racing, it's coming out. If it's not already. Still need to get a battery box and a bunch of other stuff. I want to put a cage in it. I'm trying to get it certed for 7 seconds flat in the quarter. It's going to involve a lot of tubing work, and then get the cage certified. It's going to be a long, lengthy process. Like I said, I'm in no hurry to finish this car. It came with this pin-on hood. It's got a lot of cracks in it. I don't know if I'm going to run it. I may not go and keep with these Zeus fasteners though. Might just pin it on with some hood pins. I'll be done with it. It's a lot of work to get to the motor. You have to in a hurry. Undo all those Zeus fasteners. Doors close nice though. The hinges are good on both sides. Let's see, what else does it need? Well, I got the 5-lug stuff for the front end. Brakes, rotors, and spindles. Still need the, I'm going to take the tubular key member off the red car. It will go on here along with that crappy suspension because it can be adjusted for drag racing. And that's all I really needed to do. It doesn't need to absorb anything except to squat when it goes down and takes off. I'll put some stock style suspension on the red one for cruising. It'll be a lot more comfortable car to drive around in. Like I said, the goal is 7 seconds, try and get around 175, 178 miles an hour. I just wanted something ridiculously fast, and this is going to be it. But this will be the last project I finish out of this garage, just because it's just a novelty thing. If I get to drag racing, I'll do it, but all the tracks are closed now anyway, so it'll be a while before that's done. Alright, and that's it for the 93 Fox body. Oh wait, I can't throw the, we'll show you the motor. I got parts for it over here. There's the block and the heads, although I will not be using these heads. This one's a 429. I've got the injection manifold sitting on top of it. The 460 I think is out of 90 something. I'm not exactly sure what year, but it was fuel injected, so I imagine it's up around there. We're going to use, because the bigger displacement, we'll start with just the 460. I'll just go through it, make sure the bearings are good and everything. May run that bottom end the way it is. It's got stock pistons and crank and rods until I get everything set up in the car. And then once everything's set up, as soon as I blow the motor up, then I'll go back and rebuild it. Probably use these 429 heads on this motor though, because they flow a lot better. And I'll use that intake. I think that intake's garbage. I might have to get a high-rise single plane and then make a thing for it. We'll see what happens. I'll try to do that drag car on a budget, since I really just wanted to go fast. So I know it's a heavy motor, but if I get the car light enough, it should hook pretty good with the right suspension setup on it. That's it for the motor. Oh, and the 429 is going to eventually go into another project that I haven't got yet. I'm going to do a 69 Mustang clone of a 429 Boss. Alright, this project is a 2001 Harley Davidson Road King. I pretty much ride it the way it is. It just needs some maintenance done on it. I do want to repaint all the fairings, and I would like to get bags for the back of it, just so I have somewhere to put stuff. The fairing on the front I put on there, it's removable. Uncle gave this to me. He gave another project that I have in here to my brother. It's a trike project, which is pretty cool itself. We're doing a lot of work to that one, but this one's just going to get a respray. Red's okay, but I just wanted something brighter, so I'm thinking of a darker metallic blue, like a cobalt blue or something would look really wicked on there, and put some cool graphics on it. But I do need to get the fiberglass bags for the side. It's pretty much set up as like a bar hopper right now, but I'd much rather it be a long distance cruiser, so I can take some nice long rides. Did some stuff to it. It's got new tires on it. I need to do an oil change and brakes, and need to adjust the primary and then tune the carburetor, and then that one will be done. So it's a long-term project also. Alright, this one's a 900 Razor XB Walker Edition. It has a upgraded suspension. I did a lot of stuff to it since I got it from a salvage auction. It's like $2,000, and then by the time I got it here, the fees, auction fees and everything, and then transportation from Florida to here, and I think it was like a little bit under $4,000 into it. Painted the cage, took it all apart, cleaned everything, resprayed the body. It's got a Halo FX. Looks really badass in the sunlight. The orange and the blue, I wasn't sure how they were going to go together, but it looked pretty decent. It needs a timing a cam timing tensioner put on, which I have. I just haven't got around to doing it yet. and then I had to charge the batteries because they died when it was sitting outside. Overall, just a little fun little project to go ride around with the wife. It's got newer seats in it too. They're out of a 2016 Razor XP1000 Turbo. But yeah, this thing only had 1,200 miles on it. I forget how many hours it was, but 1,200 miles. Got a half split windshield. Got a lot of stuff done to it. I got lights all the way around, LED lights and stuff. I put a hitch on the back of it. So I put a recovery point. I changed out the control arms. They're beefier now for the rear and the front. What else did I do? Oh, it's got a leak out of the front drive shaft on the transfer case in the back there. And that's where the oil, why the box is underneath it. But that's also a long-term project for later on. We'll get to it one of these days. It doesn't really need much, so. This was a father and son sell it project. So we got it, we rode it for a lot of years between the two of us, and then he learned how to ride a quad on this. It's a heavy ATV. I think it weighs 500 pounds. It's a lot to move around, even for me. No reverse, they just didn't come with it. I put a new carburetor on it. It's got upgraded jets, bigger tank, fuel tank. It's a 5-gallon tank. Gutted the exhaust. It's got basically a straight pipe all the way back through the muffler. There's no baffle in it or anything. I didn't really have to do a lot to that. I got a set of street wheels and tires for it too, as well to go with it, and I made a rack for the rear part so you can put a cooler on there. It's got a, let's see here, it's got an odometer thing on it. It tells you your speed, tach, temperature, all that stuff. A little rear view mirror, all the lights work and everything, so it's street legal. It was tagged, currently off the road right now. I need to re-shim the valves. I guess it was never done on this that I know of. So it starts and runs, but it does not have any acceleration because I don't think the valves are timed right, or it's off or something because of the valve lash adjustment. Other than that, it's great. Like I said, it was running good up to a while, and then it started petering out, so I'm pretty sure that's the valve adjustment needs to be done. So I heard anyway in the forums. Good ATV though, and it is fast. We re-geared it too to make it quicker off the line. It'll still do 70 miles an hour, which is pretty awesome. And when we're done shimming the valves and stuff and get it running again right, I'm gonna put it up for sale. And this one will be done. All right, this is the Harley Trike. So the frame's from a 70s chopper. The rear end, I don't know if it was, I'm pretty sure it was from a service car. I don't know if the frame was or not, but they looked to be about vintage the same years. It was like that when I got it, that as a trike, I mean. It's got a 1999 Harley Road King engine in it, 95 cubic inches. It's got the original CV carburetor on it. The transmission is a Spruth or something like that. It's kind of a German name. It's a 5-speed transmission, originally designed for this Evo style motor to go into this frame. And so it works really well with this old school pull cable type. Trike still needs a lot of stuff done to it. We put this tank on there. This front end, it was originally like a 70s style, I don't know, just a regular 70s style front end on it, and didn't like it. It had one disc brake. All the brakes needed to be redone anyway, because it wouldn't stop it. It was just too much for it. So we put a Hayabusa front end on it. So now it'll have dual calipers up front, which will be a lot more stopping power for him. Raised handlebars and risers. What else did I do? It's got the 2000 Road King seat off of my bike on there. I took the two fenders that it had, cut one of them down and put it in the middle there to cover the pumpkin. Still need to do some more work there and figure out what we're going to do. And he said he wants bags on it between the fender and the wheels. I'll probably make them removable because I don't think they look that good, but it's his bike, so make it the way he wants it. It's got drums in the back. Not crazy about that. I'd rather have discs, but I'm not sure what'll fit on here and how much work it's going to be to put those on there. But it runs great. It's a great running bike. I had to redo the harness though, because the harness on it was completely shot. That's it in that box right there. The wires were just all brittle and falling apart and arcing out on things. So it's got a Road King harness for the main part of the bike, and then it's hooked to the handlebar controls from the Hayabusa. So I still got to wire those up, figure out where everything goes. But he needs to buy a few more parts before I can finish this project up. It's got a new front tire. It looks a little flat right now. It must have lost air somewhere. Hayabusa front wheel. It's got vintage 70s style rear wheels. I think that's a Chevrolet pattern. I'm not positive, but they were a lot brighter gold. But I've power washed it a few times, and gold's starting to come off. Not sure if he's going to keep these wheels anymore or not. The tires are like brand new, tread-wise, but they're a little dry rotted. So we'll probably end up replacing those, the wheels and the tires, until we find something he likes on there. Maybe something black so it matches the front wheel. So originally what we're going to do is, I'll probably end up stripping that front wheel and polishing it. But the frame is going to be chrome plated, and then all the chrome on the motor and the rest of it, the black will be refreshed on there, and everything will get cleaned up. And the tins on the bike will end up being a candy apple red, unless he changes his mind on the color. And we'll have to change the shocks. They need something 2 inches longer to get the frame off the ground some, because it's just way too low. Other than that, it's not really, don't need that much more. We're gonna make that front fender removable, so if he's at a show or something, he can pull it off real easy. I'm not really sure about the styling on the front fender. I think it look cool with like a Road King front end on it, or fender on it. But that's it for the trike. And then once I'm done with it, it goes back to him. Gotta get it out of here. And then you see the last. All right, I saved the best project for last. This one will get done before that drag car gets done, but it needs a lot of work. So this is my 1966 Ford Mustang. It was originally a 289 3-speed car. When I got it, it was just a bare shell. There was absolutely nothing on it. It was barely a roller. Had an 8-inch rear in it. Had the original front suspension. Everything was clapped out on it. So I took the front suspension. I'll start up there. Took the front suspension off. I took the inner fender wells off and everything, and then I just left the 2 tubes going out the front, square tubing, and that came from the factory. I boxed it in the rest of the way, and then I built a tubular front end for it. I took the front suspension completely out, and I swapped it out with a complete suspension from a 2005 Crown Vic. It's all aluminum subframing and everything. I'll have to insert some pictures here so you can see it. When I first did it, the welding and stuff wasn't that great. It was when I was first starting, and I had a flux core welder, so I had to go through and re-weld a lot of the stuff that I did. Just not happy with the way it came out. It didn't have any fenders, a hood, the front end, so I had to buy all that stuff. It's just got service rust on it because the car was sitting outside for a long time after I got it. Put 2 fenders on it, then I cut them out so that it cleared for the wheels to go all the way up in there. This is full lowered height. I got to build fender flares for it. Ride height will be a little bit higher. It has air ride on it, different components from different manufacturers. The compressor is inside the air tank, and it's got a dryer and stuff for that too. All the lines are ran, the struts are installed. I need to put the ride height adjusters on it, and then the air ride will be done. The car has no wiring harness in it right now. I'll explain why in a minute. I cut the top off of it because I didn't want a coupe. I had a coupe in high school, and I don't know, I want something different. Wanted something, this whole point of this car is to have something that shows really well at car shows, something totally different that a lot of people haven't seen. So although Ford back in the day made a few mid-engine Mustangs for prototypes, they did not really ever produce one, so that's what I did. And now I'll show you the fun part. So front suspension was changed out, and the rear, cut the whole floor out and everything there, and this is out of a 2000 Lincoln Continental. Now, I didn't normally decide to put a Lincoln engine in it, but until I found out that it would fit in here, and it has a 4-cam 4.6 mod motor, and apparently these blocks can take up to 1,000 horsepower with no issues. So I will put forged internals in it when I go to rebuild it. And first I'm just going to get it up and running so it moves the car around. Stock has 275 horsepower. The transaxle, which I'm positive will not take more than 275 horsepower before something breaks. So I'll just take it around, cruise it, enjoy it, some shows and stuff, make it look pretty. And then when I'm ready to add the power, I will. It's going to get a twin turbo system, but not a setup as twins. It'll be set up as a compound turbo setup once the motor's rebuilt. I will put a turbo on there for the cruising around part though, just so it has some cool turbo noises stuff until I'm ready to build the motor. The whole front subframe, the shock towers were cut out of the Lincoln, the subframe was cut out, the part that the subframe bolts into was cut out and welded into the Mustang. I got to build a firewall for that. I'm not crazy about the way this roll bar is set up. I might do a double hoop system like the, or a single hoop system like this Shelby was set up for, the Cobra, AC Cobras. Still debating whether I want to run a windshield or not. I think it'd look cooler and draw more attention if it didn't have a windshield. And then I could just wear a helmet or something, or just some goggles and a hat. I think that's all Arizona requires, is the goggles and a hat for running no windshield. They don't really require anything but goggles on a motorcycle, so it should be basically the same. The tubing down on the floor there is for the cooling system. It's all stainless steel. I have the radiator sitting right here. It's a big beefy unit. I need to put a fan on it, electric fans, which I think I have the fans. I just need to build a shroud. Like I said, the only thing I don't like about this whole setup is that it's an automatic. I would much rather have a manual. Nobody makes a manual in transaxle configuration that'll work in this car. I'll search around later on to see if I can come up with something, but for now I think I just run that, and I will get it. There's a company that makes the paddle shifters for an automatic that you can run, and I think it runs it off air. So an air cylinder will, and I'll already have the compressor for that, so that'll work pretty good, I think. But it'll make a really cool car. I have a Holley Dominator set up for this car as well, with the 7-inch digital dash set up. That's not on there yet currently either. I have to run wiring for everything. I have the box and all the wires to run from the Continental, so the Lincoln stuff, and there's the shifter, which I'll have to get an extended cable. The battery will sit right here, and I'll have to build a surround for the motor so it looks really cool. I want it to stay visible so everybody can see it at the car shows. The rear steering, which was the front steering in the Lincoln, I took the steering rack from around the bar there. I'm going to make bushings that will weld to that bar, and it'll bolt in place on the subframe in the same spot. So I'll set it up, get it aligned, and then I'll do the alignment myself. Once I get the alignment done, I'll lock it in position so it'll be set at ride height. So the wheels will toe in a little bit when it goes down, when it's laid out all the way, but it's pretty low to the ground now. That oil pan on the automatic transmission is really low, probably like within an inch of the ground right now. So I don't really want it any lower than that. I might build a shield for it or something so I don't hit a rock and tear it open or anything. The engine oil pan is got some pretty good clearance on it, but I may make a plate for the bottom of that, so if it does scrape on something it won't hurt it. There are 315 wheels on the back. 17 by 10 rims in the rear and 17 by 9 up front. 275s I think up front, maybe. If I'm not mistaken, the fuel tank's up front. I got a all aluminum fuel cell up there, so it's just going to be that, the radiator. Vacuum brakes. What else? Can't think too much else I did to that. So I have a digital gas pedal on there. Got that from the Lincoln. So it's drive-by-wire. What else? He said 4.6 motor. I think that's it for this. So like I said, it's gonna make it look good. It looks a lot worse than it is. It's actually closer to being done than it looks. Caster camber adjusters in the rear, so I can set the alignment. Same factory stuff in the front for the Crown Vic suspension. Show you pictures off there, insert a picture like I said before. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I said, this was a running and driving car. I drove it around for 6 months before I threw the motor out of it. And I just have to do the wiring, but the standalone for the Holley should run everything with no issues. So just no heat, no AC, no power steering. Don't really need it. It's got a power steering rack on there right now. Unless I could find another company that makes a manual rack for it, it's probably just stayed in there. And I'll have to figure out how to loop it around or something to where the front end's super light. There's like no weight to the front end. Oh, I did cut out the floor too and redo that. It's a double wall with a 1-inch lattice work metal underneath it. Make it strong. So when you look underneath the car, it's like just super flat all the way across. So I wanted to be a little aerodynamic for cruising down the road. so nothing hangs down at all. Like I said, the exhaust will be coming out the back from the motor. It'll go out where the factory gas cap came out in the center. I can show you that right now. So it won't be having a muffler, it'll just have the compound turbo set up, and it'll dump out right between the tail lights. Might have to louver this hood to get some of the heat out of there from the turbo and the engine. Other than that, it's a little lopsided for some reason. I'm not sure why. Or the way it's laid out and angled. Alright, but that's the 66 project. And that's all the projects in the garage.